Welcome to JK Tells a Story, where real-life dramas unfold. Sit back and enjoy today's tale. Jake had just returned from a 2-week business trip and was sleeping late on Friday morning until he heard voices downstairs. He heard his wife Sarah's voice and thought she was talking on her cell phone, but then he heard a man's voice. After going to the bathroom, he put on gray sweatpants and headed downstairs. "Oh God, this is wonderful," Sarah said. "You're really coming back to Virginia Beach." Jake slowly walked around the corner and saw a tall blonde man sitting across from her at the kitchen table. "Hey, what's going on?" "Jake, remember how I told you that my childhood best friend might move back to the city? Well, he's here. This is Ryan." "Ryan," Jake repeated. All these years he thought Ryan was short for something like Ryan Marie and assumed that Sarah's best friend was a woman. "Oh wow, this is great, honey." He felt goosebumps run through his body as he immediately noticed that the well-built man was not wearing a wedding ring. "Jake, Sarah has told me so much about you that it seems like I've known you for a very long time," Ryan said. He stood up and extended his hand for a handshake. Jake was not prepared for the death grip and winced in pain as the strong fingers squeezed tighter and tighter. Oops, sorry," Ryan chuckled, letting go of his hand. Jake shook his hand, wondering if anything was broken. "So when are you actually moving back?" "The moving van delivered my things yesterday, so I have a lot of work to do. Honey, I know we talked about taking the boat out today, but Ryan needs help and I told him I'd come by this afternoon. You can come too if you're not busy. I thought we agreed to take the boat out of dry dock and start it up to get it ready for tomorrow's trip on the Chesapeake with Madison and Tyler." "It's okay," Ryan interrupted. "I have a week to get the house in livable condition." Jake saw that his wife was upset. "Hey, you know what? First I need to start the engine and have a mechanic check everything. Go and help Ryan." She smiled and moved forward to hug him. When she stood up, he saw that she was wearing a very thin robe and he could tell she wasn't wearing a bra underneath. "Thank you, honey." He was ready to kiss her lips, but she turned and kissed him on the cheek. "Oh, and Ryan doesn't have electricity or running water yet, so I told him he could stay in the spare bedroom until Monday or Tuesday. That's okay, right?" Jake had heard enough. "It was nice to meet you, Ryan." He turned and went back upstairs. As he stood adjusting the temperature of the shower water, he heard the door open. "That was rude," she said. "To just leave like that." He tried to control his anger. "Damn it, Sarah. I told you 3 times that we need to work on the boat today. Besides, how long have you known that Ryan was moving here?" "A few weeks, but I forgot to tell you. And I'm just as surprised as you that he showed up here this morning. Why are you acting like this? He's just a friend, and that's all. Just a friend for whom you abandoned our plans today to help him move. I don't care. Now go away and let me take a shower, please." "Jake, you're being unreasonable, and I'm not going to talk to you when you're like this. I'll talk to you later about dinner." She turned and left. As she finished breakfast, she thought about her relationship with Ryan. It all started in 3rd grade on the school playground when another boy tripped her, causing her to fall and skin her elbow. She was about to stand up and swing at him when she saw him fly face first into the swing. "Thank you," she said to the unfamiliar boy and stood up, rubbing her elbow. "Are you new here?" "Yes, I'm Ryan," he grinned. "Your elbow is bleeding, and you need to go to the nurse. I'll go with you." After that, they did everything together. At 9 years old, they loved playing video games and watching movies on TV. Everyone teased them that they were in love, but they both said they were only friends. A month later, they played on the same football team and loved to rollerblade on Saturday mornings. Ryan practically moved into Sarah's house since his parents worked different shifts at the hospital. He began joining her family on vacations to the Outer Banks, and her parents treated him like a son. This continued throughout high school, but the sleepovers stopped when she hit puberty and began developing physically. Things got awkward, but they continued to hang out with other friends. They dated other people but never became romantically involved. A month before prom, he asked her to go with him. "With you?" She grinned, but when she saw his face, she realized she had hurt his feelings. "I mean, you're like a brother to me." Again, she saw how sad his face became. "I mean, forget I asked," he snapped. He started to get up from the sofa to leave, but she grabbed his hand. "Let me go. Stop and listen to me. I love you, Ryan, but you're my best friend forever, and I don't want to lose that." He took a deep breath and sat back down. "I know and feel the same, but I don't have a date, and this will just be fun. No romance. You're special to me, and I want to remember this prom for the rest of my life." Ryan rented a tuxedo and a limousine and stood proudly in the doorway before ringing the doorbell. Sarah's mom, Linda, answered and gasped. "Oh my God! Look at you. You're no longer a boy." "Linda," Sarah's father said, walking up to his wife, "I have to worry about what you're going to do after graduation." Ryan blushed. "No, sir. My intentions are honorable. You have nothing to worry about." "Dad, let him in, please," Sarah called from upstairs. The door opened and Ryan froze because her dress was beautiful and hugged every curve of her body. For the first time, he noticed her developing figure. "Wow," Ryan whispered. Sarah blushed. "Come in, silly. It's just me." After Linda took photos of them together, hugging and even kissing on the lips lightly, they hurried to the limo. "I feel like Cinderella," she whispered, sitting next to him and holding his strong hand. "And tonight you are my prince." They were both completely caught up in the moment as they danced. She rested her head on his shoulder, and for the first time, she felt his physical reaction against her stomach and smiled, moving even closer. As the lights dimmed and the music slowed, she threw her head back and closed her eyes. She didn't have to wait long when their lips touched and their tongues met and played together. They didn't notice that they were photographed by a yearbook photographer. "Sarah, I thought you didn't want to," he whispered as she pressed her body against his. "I want tonight to be special too. Only today, and tomorrow we'll be best friends forever again." They were both satisfied later that evening, and she said, "I think we're better as friends than lovers." She giggled a few minutes later as they dressed awkwardly, and he called the limousine to take them home. "Well, that complicated everything," she joked as they kissed lightly on the threshold of her house. After prom, they stopped spending as much time together, and a few months later they left for colleges far away from each other. Just before leaving, he wrote her a letter in which he apologized for what happened after prom and hoped she didn't hate him. She saved his letter for future memories. Over the Christmas holidays, she was surprised when he rang her parents' doorbell holding a gift. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" "Sarah, I've missed my best friend so much it's killing me. We messed up at prom, and I want to see if we can completely forget about it and start over." Tears flowed from her brown eyes. "Oh God, yes. I want my best friend back." She jumped into his arms and hugged him until her mother came to the door. "Who's there?" "Ryan, is that you? Thank God you made peace. Come on in and join us for dinner." They spent holidays and summers together for the next 4 years, but were never able to become as close as they once were. After graduating from college, he called and said he had moved away with a girl he was dating and was getting married. However, they continued to correspond monthly. "I still value our friendship," Ryan wrote to her one day. "But my wife is very jealous, and when I told her about you, she became upset and said I should end our friendship. Otherwise, she can't accept that we could be so close and not be involved romantically. I understand, and I'll be here for you if you need a friend again." Take care and know that you're special to me. That was the last she heard from him until 6 months ago when he called her out of the blue. He explained that he was getting divorced and was considering moving back to Virginia Beach. He needed to return to his roots, he said, and he hoped they could renew their special close friendship. Over the following months, they exchanged emails and messages, and she learned his divorce had been finalized just last month. So when he showed up at her door yesterday morning, she was surprised but not completely shocked. Sarah was wearing jeans and a loose t-shirt and was sitting at the table when Jake came down the stairs. She expected him to go into the kitchen, but he walked down the hallway towards the garage. She hurried to meet him at the door. "Are you just going to leave without saying anything?" He didn't look in her direction. "I have nothing to say." "Obviously you do. I want to know if you're going out on the boat tomorrow with Tyler and Madison, or if you're going to play house with your boyfriend Ryan." "Sarah, you're acting like a big jerk, and it's bothering me. Besides, I told you about Ryan before." Before she finished, he closed the door. "Well, this really sucks," Sarah sighed. Her best friend had returned, but this was putting a wall between her and her husband. Ryan had told her that his wife always got upset when he mentioned his special friendship with her, and now the same thing was happening in her life. She called Ryan, told him about Jake, and asked when she could come see him. "Sarah, I think we need to cool down. It's obvious that Jake doesn't want me staying at your house until Monday. Besides, you should go help him prepare the boat. I wouldn't ask you to help me unpack if I knew you already had plans. He's acting like an idiot, and I'm coming to help you. I have your address, and I'll be there soon. Bye." "I'm being stupid over little things," Jake said to himself later that day. After the mechanic at Rudy Inlet Marina checked the boat's motor, he thought, "She says they were always just friends, and she's never lied to me before. I'll buy some beer on the way home and try to be friendly with this guy." When he pulled into the garage, he noticed that her car was still missing, and it was already almost 6 p.m. He checked his phone and didn't see any messages. "First she left me to help him unpack, and now she won't even text me to tell me when she's coming home or if we're having dinner together. Damn, I need to stop talking to myself." 30 minutes later, he was coming out of the shower and heard them laughing downstairs. He stood at the top of the stairs and listened. "You look so serious in your graduation photo," Ryan laughed as they looked at her old school yearbook. "Hey, you look like a nerd," she exclaimed, leaning over and punching his strong arm playfully. He kept laughing, and suddenly she jumped on his back, making him fall sideways onto the sofa next to her. When Jake entered, her upper body was lying on top of him, and she was lightly hitting him. "Well, what's so funny?" Jake asked. Ryan quickly picked her up and moved her off of him. "We were just looking at old-school photos." He hoped Jake wouldn't be angry that their bodies had been so close. When Jake laughed, Ryan relaxed a little. "Ha! I don't remember seeing these photos. Show them to me." Sarah was still annoyed and wasn't ready for her husband to join them on the couch, squeezing himself between her and Ryan. "Is that really you, Sarah?" Jake asked, looking at a photo. She relaxed, hoping her husband wouldn't behave as he had before. She wrapped her arms around his shoulders and rubbed her soft chest against his side. "Yes, it's me. Aren't I beautiful?" she joked. For the next half hour, Ryan and Sarah showed him photos of other kids in their class, and everyone became relaxed and calm. "Let's order pizza," Jake suggested. "Unless you two haven't already eaten." "Sorry, baby, we didn't have lunch and we're hungry. We thought you ate something at the marina, so we went to that burger place on Atlantic Avenue and got something." "You could have called or texted me," he said, trying not to show his resentment at being ignored. "I think I'll call and order myself a small pizza." "Okay. I'll show Ryan the spare bedroom and get him some towels so he can take a shower. I'll shower too, and then we'll all talk so you guys can get to know each other better." She leaned down to kiss him, and again only on the cheek. After Jake ordered pizza delivery, he heard the shower upstairs turn on. He sat down with a beer and looked at the album again. He saw her photo and Ryan's comment about how they would always be best friends. Flipping through more photos, he saw pictures from prom and wondered who Sarah's date was. He froze when he saw the photo of her sitting at a table next to Ryan. "Just friends, right?" he muttered. Turning the page, he almost dropped the album. She was in Ryan's arms, dancing intimately, their eyes closed and lips parted, kissing passionately. "This," he sighed, throwing the album across the room. When it landed and opened, a small envelope fell out. He walked over and saw that it was addressed to Sarah. Opening it, he quickly read the letter and tossed it on top of the yearbook. After a few seconds, he grabbed the car keys and left the house. Sarah felt good and smiled as she put on cotton pajamas, a robe and slippers. She knew Jake would be happy that tomorrow she would go on the boat with their friends. She heard the doorbell ring, signaling that the pizza had been delivered, and she heard it ring again and again. "He's probably in the bathroom downstairs," she thought, and hurried downstairs to open the door. "Everything's paid for, ma'am," said the young delivery guy, handing her a flat box. She brought it into the kitchen and called out, "Your pizza is here, Jake." She heard nothing and began to look for him. He wasn't in the bathroom, and when she looked into the living room, she saw an open album on the floor and an open letter that Ryan had written to her many years ago. "No, no, please no," she whispered. It was the same letter in which Ryan mentioned that after prom they went to a motel together. She collapsed to the floor and saw Ryan's bare feet next to her. "What happened?" Ryan asked, kneeling down next to her. "Jake found and read the letter you sent me. He knows we had a night at the motel after prom." "Damn, Sarah. I thought you destroyed that letter. How are we going to fix this?" Sarah took the phone from her purse on the hallway table and called Jake. It rang and rang until finally his voicemail picked up. "Hi, this is Jake. Leave a message. Beep. Jake, please come back and let me explain everything. Prom and the motel were a big mistake and terrible for both of us. Trust me when I tell you that we are just good friends. Darling, I love only you and want only you to be in my bed. Please come home." She waited for more than an hour and called again. Meanwhile, Ryan was watching TV and waiting to see if Jake would call her back. It was 11 o'clock when he went upstairs and packed his bag. Sarah sat at the kitchen table looking at her phone. She raised her head and saw that he was dressed and holding his small bag in his hands. "Where are you going?" "I've created enough problems. I remember what it did to my wife when she found out about you and our special friendship. I will not be the reason for your divorce as it happened to me. Call me when you're alone." She wanted to argue for him to stay, but she knew it would be better if he left for now. In the meantime, she needed to mitigate the damage. "Okay, I'm very sorry that this happened." She moved closer to him to hug him and didn't want to let him go. She tilted her head back and looked into his eyes. They suddenly realized that this closeness was the reason why Jake was so angry. "Good night," he answered her softly and left. She sent Jake a text. "Ryan's gone, so please come home and let's talk. Please. I love you, honey." She sat on the sofa until 1 a.m. when she felt herself falling asleep. The next moment she realized it was already light outside. After using the bathroom in the hall, she looked into the garage and saw Jake's car. "He's home," she whispered to herself. Jake had entered the house after 2 a.m. and saw his wife sleeping on the sofa. He considered waking her up but was still upset that she had lied about Ryan and her being just friends. No matter what kind of relationship they had now, there was no way he could trust both of them now. He had only one choice. He was awakened by the bright morning sun. As he rolled over, He felt her soft body pressing against his bare back. "Good morning," Sarah whispered, nibbling his ear. "I'm so glad you came home." Her hand moved to his thigh and slid under his pajamas. Within seconds he was aroused, but he pulled away from her. "Jake, what's wrong?" "Sorry, but I won't accept intimacy from you out of guilt. What did you and Ryan do after I left last night? How can you blame me for this? I have never cheated on you, and I never would. I didn't tell you about that night with Ryan because it didn't mean anything, and besides, it was long before I met you. We're just friends, and when you get to know him better, you'll understand. That's it. It's time to make a decision, Sarah. You have to choose him or me." "Oh my God, you're serious? What if I don't choose?" "Not making a choice is the same as choosing him. I'm going out on the boat today with Tyler and Madison, and we'll be back around 8 p.m. So you have that time to make a decision." "Jake, wait!" But he was no longer there, and she collapsed on the bed, crying. "So where's Sarah?" Madison asked, leaning on Jake's hand as she got into the boat at the Chesapeake Bay Marina. "A friend came to her city without warning, and she stayed at home, so it was just the three of us. Actually, Tyler and I are having some problems right now, so I decided to join you and Sarah. Damn, I really need company right now. I promise to be a gentleman," she grinned, looking at the pretty brown-haired girl who was his college friend whom he had introduced to Tyler 2 years ago. "Actually, I probably need your advice on something." "I trust you," she smiled, throwing her bag onto the deck. "I also need rest now, so let's share our tips." They were silent as he steered the boat onto the Chesapeake Bay and dropped anchor in a small deserted cove. Suddenly several dark clouds appeared, and it began to rain. They laughed and jumped under the boat's canopy while they were splashing around. When the sun came out, they climbed back onto the boat. They took towels and dried each other off. After that, they grabbed some beer and wine and moved to the soft cushions at the back of the boat. "Who wants to go first?" she asked. "I will," Jake sighed, leaning back on the soft seat. Over the next 20 minutes, he told Madison everything that had happened since he found his wife and Ryan at the breakfast table. "I really want to believe her, but she lied to me about prom night. Well, she hid it from me, and it looks like Ryan is more than just a best friend. But I can't believe she would cheat on me. Can a man and woman be such close friends without crossing the line again after they've already done it once? I mean, his ex-wife thought there was more between them than just friendship. Maybe there is, but I just don't know. I asked her to choose between us, and she didn't seem to want to. I don't know. I mean, you and I were friends before Tyler and I got married, and I have special feelings for you too. When we recently had a fight about money and my job, you were the first person I wanted to talk to. Maybe this is the case. She can't understand how I can think there's something else going on. So maybe we can do the same thing. I mean, as long as it doesn't ruin your relationship with Tyler. Actually, it might work for me too. He takes me for granted, and I haven't seen flowers or had dates in months." "Great. So what are your plans for tomorrow?" "Well, since we both love tennis, let me pick you up tomorrow and we'll spend the day at the club. Also, these two seem to think that touching each other and fighting is okay. Sounds good. But let's not go too far because I've always been partial to you." "Yes, me too," he grinned, looking at her beautiful elastic tan body. Sarah still had tears in her eyes and looked at her watch nervously. When it was already about 6 p.m., she decided to call and find out where they were. When she didn't answer, she called Tyler. "Hey, Sarah, how are you?" He was sitting alone at home watching the NFL game. She could hear the noise of a football match in the background. "Have you returned from your boat trip?" "Didn't go. I decided to stay at home." "Aren't you on a boat?" "I didn't go either. It's complicated. It's also difficult here. Probably Madison and Jake went together. I think so, yes. Do you want to talk about it? She asked, slightly concerned that Jake was left alone with Madison all day. She said I no longer pay attention to her and treat her like a maid and cook, that she had no friends or interests outside of our house. He hesitated. So I told her to get off her ass and do something. Obviously, this was the wrong decision. She said she would go to the boat and do something without me. So there you go. Her phone buzzed, and she saw Ryan's name. We have to go. Good luck, she said sadly into the phone. Do you want to hear anything? What are you going to do? I will understand if you say that we should cut all ties. We screwed up with this letter, and it's not like we won't screw up in the future if we've already screwed up once. Don't worry, I have other friends. It's a pity. I'm sorry, Ryan, but Jake is everything to me, and I can't lose him. Maybe someday you will understand our friendship has to end. Goodbye. She hung up and started crying again. Later that day, she decided to meet the boat at the dock. The boat was moored and tied, and Jake and Madison's thighs were touching as if they couldn't see Sarah approaching. Hello! They heard Sarah scream. Madison quickly moved away with a guilty look. Hi, Sarah. We really missed you today. Tyler couldn't make it, so it was just me and my old friend. Madison came down from the captain's bridge without a t-shirt, dressed only in a tiny bikini. Her chest was showing prominently. She had to hold back her laughter as Jake turned and stared at her display. She laughed and waved her right index finger at him. You're terrible, Jake. Jake could tell from her body language that Sarah was very tense and upset. He looked at his watch. It's only 7 p.m., so Madison and I will finish here and meet you at home at 8 p.m. to talk. Sarah was furious with what she saw and was ready to tell him that Ryan would be in her life whether he wanted it or not. But she realized that this was about the same thing that Jake felt when he saw her wrestling on the couch with Ryan. In addition, she had the fact that Ryan was moving back to the city permanently. If he insisted that she leave Ryan, she would do the same with Madison, except he didn't sleep with Madison, at least not as far as she knew. She wasn't sure what she would do as she drove back to their house. It was almost 8 in the evening when she heard Jake enter the house. She was angry about what she saw on the boat between him and Madison. He felt tired and indifferent, sitting on the sofa and pretending to read a magazine. Hello, I'm home, he said loudly. Well, have you made a decision? Him or me? Both. You are like my husband and he is like my best friend. Final answer, she said sharply without looking up from the magazine. I told you that means you chose him. It tells me where I stand. He quickly climbed the stairs and went to the shower. I can't be sure you'll give up Madison either. How about you were also alone on the boat today? I saw her hug you and press her chest against your back. I wondered where her arms were around your lower body. You two were friends long before we met. So how do I know you didn't do anything? First of all, I never knew Ryan was a guy. I knew you were communicating via email, and it never bothered me. Then I heard when he showed up at my house that he had moved here. Then you rushed to help him move and abandon our plan to go boating. Only later do I find out that you two were together at school, kissing and having intimate relations. Madison and I were just friends. We never kissed except on New Year's Eve, and there was no tongue like in your album. You can trust me. Trust Ryan and me. We don't feel that way about each other. Please, Jake, don't make me give up my best friend. I will give it up if it becomes a big problem that comes between us, but give us a chance. She turned in his direction and pulled him towards her, and soon they were kissing and making love. Do not stop. I love you, she whispered with passion, but did not notice that he had not reached completion. The next morning, she slept longer than usual and woke up to find him gone. She found a note on a small white marker board in the kitchen. Playing tennis with Madison. I'll see you later. Maybe we'll have dinner at the club. Go help Ryan move. Jake. On one hand, she was glad that Ryan was back, but on the other, she was worried that Jake and Madison would be together, especially since Tyler had problems with her. She called Ryan. I thought we broke up, Ryan said, surprised by her call. Everything has changed. I will come to help you move and tell you everything. Madison was hesitant to enter the house after she spent time with Jake the day before. She was still thinking about Jake's warm hug and kiss before parting. Lately, Tyler and she had been doing nothing but arguing about everything. She had finally expressed her anger at how he had taken her for granted and wondered if he would change. Hello, I'm home, she called out. Nothing. Hello, Tyler? Nothing. She walked into their bathroom and saw a note written on the mirror. Things are messed up between us right now, and it's mostly my fault. I hate my job and I need to leave for a couple of weeks. I will not be in contact. Tyler, what a man, she whispered and took the phone to call him. When it went to voicemail, she hung up. Typical cowardly behavior on your part, Tyler. You don't solve any problems, you just put your tail between your legs and run away. I hope you find yourself because I wash my hands of it. She hoped that her trip on the boat without him would make him realize he needed to appreciate her more. Luckily, she still had Jake. She wondered what happened when he confronted Sarah again. She smiled when she received a text from him. See you tomorrow at the club at 10 a.m. Court 4 is reserved. The next week, everyone calmed down. Sarah continued to help Ryan with the move, and Jake and Madison got together for lunch and played tennis. No one seemed jealous or did anything that crossed the line between friendships. But on Friday, Tyler's sister told Madison that Tyler had gone on a cruise, and not alone. Madison realized it was all over and called Jake. Could you come? I need someone to be with me. What's happened? Did Tyler come home? Are you okay? No and no, but I can't talk on the phone. Sarah and I will be with you in a few minutes. Jake, I only want you to come. I think Tyler and I are done, and I need your company. Okay, I understand. He hoped Sarah would understand too. Sarah was putting on her pajamas when Jake entered the bedroom. She saw a worried look on his face. What's happened? Madison just called and said something bad happened, and she wants me to come. I'll call later and let you know what's going on. It's already 9 o'clock. Can it wait until tomorrow morning? If it's that bad, I'll go with you. She only wants me, honey. She's my best friend. He hurried to the bathroom and brushed his teeth. Maybe you should shave and put on some cologne, she teased, watching him spit out toothpaste. And I think there's protection in the nightstand. Well, who's acting paranoid here? You can't have it both ways. She needs me and I'm leaving. He left her sitting at the kitchen table as he hurried out the door. Call me, she shouted after him. Madison decided that Tyler just needed a little break from work and life in general. She assumed he had gone to his family's lake house, but was shocked when she learned he had gone on a cruise with another woman. No wonder he treated me like a cook and maid. He got his pleasure somewhere else, she thought. A few minutes later, Jake rang her doorbell. As soon as he walked inside, she threw herself into his arms. I'm so glad you came. Her arms wrapped around his neck, and her legs wrapped around his waist. He stood straight, feeling awkward. Let me close the door. Okay. Are you okay? Yes. I knew my marriage was in trouble, but I didn't expect him to leave town with another woman. What should I do? She tried to hug him again with her soft body, but he pulled away and headed towards the kitchen. Do you have beer? That's almost all we have. Tyler finishes 6 bottles almost every night except 2 nights of bowling. He probably went on a cruise with Elise. She's a divorced woman on his bowling team. Several times when I went there, she was all over him. He said it was just flirting, like I had with you. He ignored this as he looked away from her silky light blue robe, but not before noticing that her well-formed chest was not covered by a bra. And what do you want to do about it? I'm done with him and have been for a long time. I keep my money in a separate account, so I have enough if I need it. The principal of my school has a brother who is a lawyer, and he said that he would help me prepare the documents. Do you mind if we go to the living room? It's more comfortable there. As they walked down the hallway, his phone buzzed. It was Sarah. He didn't answer. Will she be angry that you came here alone? I don't know. She's been at Ryan's house alone quite often since he got back. You know what's good for the goose. Do you think they had an intimate relationship? I don't think so, because I think she wants to stay married to me but to have him around. I don't trust him. His wife divorced him for some reason, and I need to find out why. Well, I want you to be there too. I feel so alone now. Even when I worked as a cook and maid, I had someone I could talk to. Tears fell from her cheeks as she fell onto the sofa. Unable to bear her tears, he knelt down next to her and hugged her. I'm here for you. Their eyes met, and their lips pressed against each other briefly before Jake pulled away. I should go home. Please don't leave me alone tonight. Sarah tried to think about something else, but she was nervous that Jake would be tempted by Madison. It seemed like Tyler and Madison's marriage was falling apart, and she didn't want to become a victim of that situation. She fell asleep at midnight, and after a while, she heard the door open. Jake, is it you? She called out, jumping up and looking around the doorway. Who else could it be? Unless you gave Ryan the key to the house? He immediately regretted what he said. I'm sorry. She looked at the clock and saw that it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. It took you 5 hours to calm her down? Maybe I should ask what the hell is going on. It's late, and we're both stressed. I think we need to postpone this conversation until tomorrow morning. He sighed and went up to their bedroom. When he came out of the bathroom, he saw her in bed looking at him. I love you, Jake. I love you too. No matter how tired they were, they found it difficult to sleep. Jake woke up the next morning and was walking downstairs when he heard her talking to someone on the phone and stopped to listen. Listen, I can't. I told you we should take a break. I have no idea when or if we will be able to see each other again. No, and stop sending me messages and emails. She was angry because Ryan had pushed too far the last time they were together. She knew her marriage was in danger, especially since Jake had spent most of last night with Madison. She loved him and wasn't going to give him up that easily. She heard the shower turn on upstairs and hurried to prepare breakfast and return to her husband. Good morning, honey, she smiled, walking around the table and hugging him. Forgive me for my comment about Madison last night. I believe that you will never cross the line with another woman, and I most certainly will not cross it with any man. Sarah, well, last night Madison felt so bad and was so hurt that He saw her smile turned upside down and her eyes turned from warm to cold. Wait, Jake, I had nothing serious with Ryan, and you blame me for everything. And you had someone else. Sarah, let me finish, please. But she turned, grabbed her purse, and ran out the door. He tried to stop her, but her car had already left the house and was driving down the street. As he stood on the steps in his shorts, he ran into the house, grabbed his phone, and sent her a voice message. We didn't get intimate. Please let me explain, and don't do what I think you're going to do. If you do, it's over between us. So please come back. She was frantic and sped down the road. At first, she thought about going to Ryan's house to get back at Jake. But then her anger focused on the real problem, Madison. She was going to confront the woman who was trying to steal her husband. She was wearing only silky black pajamas and a robe, but she didn't care. At the railway crossing, a Norfolk Southern train was passing. which slowed down her movement for a long time. This gave her time to calm down and collect her thoughts. She took a deep breath and recognized the name of the street next to the tracks. She was only a few blocks from Madison's neighborhood. Madison was still thinking about what happened last night with Jake, how he had come to comfort her after the pain her husband had caused. He had always been her knight in shining armor and had helped her out many times since they met in freshman year English class at Old Dominion University. After talking to him about how devastating it was to learn about Tyler's affair, even though they didn't have kids to worry about, she relaxed and moved closer to him so he could hold her on the couch. She had hoped for more, but Jake had been a perfect gentleman, which only made her want him more. She was distracted from her memories by the doorbell. She opened the door expecting to see Jake and saw Sarah's angry face. She was about to say good morning when Sarah's right palm hit her across the face. You went after my husband, didn't you?" Being stronger and heavier, Madison lowered her head and slammed her body into Sarah's. Both women flew through the door onto the wet lawn, which was being watered by automatic sprinklers. Madison landed on top of Sarah and quickly pinned her hands above her head. "Stop it! What do you think happened last night?" Sarah growled and tried to get up and push her away, but Madison was too heavy. "Okay, I give up. Let me get up and we can talk," Sarah said, realizing she had no other choice. Both women were soaked to the skin and staggered to their hands and knees. They both looked like drowned rats. The hair on their heads was matted and twisted. "Are you girls okay?" asked a concerned voice. Sarah looked back and saw her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, standing at the door next door. "We're fine. Just working out a misunderstanding," Madison called back, embarrassed. Jake was worried that his wife would go and ruin her marriage by being with Ryan to get even for what she thought he did with Madison. He hurried to get dressed and quickly went to Ryan's house. He was surprised not to see Sarah's car but knocked on the man's door anyway. "Open up. I know she's there. What the hell is going on, Jake?" Ryan asked just before the angry man pushed him hard against the doorframe. "Hey!" Ryan shouted, staggering and ready to defend himself. "She's not here. Where is she? Are you going to meet her somewhere?" "I have no idea. She's your wife." "Well, we need to talk. Don't give me any lies about how you only want to be Sarah's best friend. I can see in your eyes that you love her and want her." Ryan walked past him and closed the door. "Let's talk." He led Jake into the living room and sat down across from him on the sofa. "You're right. I love and always have loved Sarah, but she doesn't feel the same way about me. Believe me, I tried to make her love me, but she always laughed and stopped any romance between us. I thought marrying a wonderful woman would cure me, but I couldn't stop thinking about trying again with your wife. So I divorced my wife and moved here for one last try. I knew I didn't stand a chance when I met you, until Madison came along. The other day, while you two were playing tennis, I took Sarah to that overlook near First Landing State Park where we used to go in high school to listen to music. We ended up dancing and kissing. I told her that you and Madison were probably doing the same thing, and suddenly she pulled away from me. If you tell me you were intimate with her, I'll kill you, Jake growled. Ryan held up his hand. No, it didn't come to that, but we came close. We were in your living room, and if it weren't for your wedding photo on the dresser, I would have had a chance. She ran upstairs and locked herself in the bathroom. I knocked several times, but she told me to leave and that we could never be together again. I stopped all communication with her and began to move on with my life. If you want to hit me, go ahead. I deserve it. He stood up and hoped Jake wouldn't do it. He made a mistake and did not see the punch coming, but felt it crash into his jaw. He fell and lost consciousness. Where the hell is she? Jake muttered. He had no one to ask. Then it dawned on him. She went after Madison. Madison and Sarah were completely wet from the sprinklers and were dripping onto the hallway floor. They looked at each other's disheveled hair and wet pajamas and suddenly realized how ridiculous they looked in front of Madison's neighbor. "Jake told me what happened, that you two were intimate last night when he came here," Sarah said, deciding to bluff to get Madison to admit something. "I wish," Madison sighed, "but this man is too loyal to you. I was ready when he held my face, looked me in the eyes and said, 'This won't happen. My wife may have issues with me, but I will not cheat while we're still married.' I tried again, but he pulled away and spent the rest of the night just talking and holding me while I cried." Sarah quickly realized she had been wrong about Jake. Relief flooded through her, but she was still angry about the whole situation. Without thinking, she did what her brother had taught her years ago during their childhood wrestling matches. She threw her fist from her right hip up under Madison's chin with all her strength. The shorter woman's eyes rolled back into her head, and she pressed her back against the door and slid down to the ground unconscious. It suddenly became very dark for Madison. Jake drove past Madison's house but didn't see Sarah's car. He had no idea where she had gone but decided to go to the nearest urgent care clinic on Virginia Beach Boulevard to have the fingers of his right hand examined. He knew at least one of them was broken after he hit Ryan. There were a lot of people in the waiting room, so the receptionist took his insurance card and told him it would be about an hour wait. He was about to sit down when he heard his wife's voice at the front desk. "I told you that I don't have my Blue Cross insurance card because I don't have my purse with me. Let me call my husband, and he can give you the information." Sarah took the woman's phone and called Jake. She heard the familiar ringtone loud and clear and knew he was close. She quickly turned around to see him standing behind her, holding his buzzing phone with his injured hand. What are you?" She grinned, raising her bruised and twisted knuckles in pain, just like him. Jake looked at the receptionist behind the counter. "She's my wife. I have our insurance information. Let's sit down." Sarah followed him to a quiet corner of the waiting area. He couldn't help but grin when he saw the state she was in, and she did the same when she noticed his swollen fingers. They leaned towards each other and kissed softly. She pressed her lips to his ear and whispered, "I don't think any of us have best friends anymore. We still need to work on our marriage. But how about we become each other's best friends?" Jake whispered back, "I love you. I love you too." Afterward, Ryan packed up, moved back to Richmond where he had lived before, and tried to reconcile with his ex-wife, but she slammed the door in his face. It turned out he had built an actual shrine to Sarah in the attic of their former house, which she had discovered after he moved out. After several desperate attempts to contact Sarah again through emails and phone calls, he finally gave up and found a waitress at a truck stop diner on I-95 whom he married within 3 months. Her name was Sarah too. Tyler came back from his Caribbean cruise with a sexually transmitted disease that he unknowingly passed on to several women around Virginia Beach after his return. The health authorities traced several cases back to him. He eventually married again to a woman who was an excellent cook and housekeeper but had no idea about his past. Madison decided to become a professional boxer after her divorce was finalized. She trained at a gym in Norfolk and fought 2 professional matches at the Norfolk Scope Arena. Both times she was knocked out cold in the first round by a quick uppercut to the chin, which reminded spectators of her encounter with Sarah. Sarah and Jake worked through their marriage issues with the help of a counselor and settled down happily in their Virginia Beach home. They eventually had 3 beautiful children over the next 5 years, none of them named Ryan, Tyler, or Madison. They learned to become each other's best friends and never looked back. Thank you for your viewing. See you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to JK Tells a Story for more tales.